students of Reddit, what was your school's big scandal? We had a senior male student in my high school who knocked up a freshman and the Spanish teacher within like a week of each other. I've posted it before but having a hard time finding it. Anyways, an English teacher slapped a kid in class and retired that week. This actually came out during my last semester there, but it had been happening for years. One of the English teachers had been having sex with a few select students every year. Most were football players. It got really weird. When I had her class, it wouldn't be out of place if a student from another class asked to go to the bathroom and just went to her room to see her. One day some kid brought her a drink from McDonald's because he was late to school and got breakfast. It only came out because there was this one girl who was in an argument with her for some reason and said something along the lines of, "That's why you duck your students," and the whole incident got brought up to the office and they interviewed everyone. Found out she'd had sex with multiple students for the past few years. Edit. I've been getting a lot of comments asking if this was in. All I'll say is that it was in Georgia. It was in 2007. But my high school had a string of gum threats. There was a bathroom where no cameras could see who went in or out. And someone wrote in Sharpie across one of the stall doors, "There's a gum in the school with that day's date." The school was evacuated. And we all went home. For the next few months, there was a gum threat seemingly every Friday. We'd be in the middle of the first or second period. Then we'd all go home. After we missed enough days, we all had to come in on several Saturdays. And the gum threats stopped. The biology teacher was having an affair with the principal. It's downright wholesome to see age-appropriate sex scandals in schools. In my senior year, one of the popular football players was held while he was driving drunk. It was obviously big news on campus, and just a few days after, the school had this giant memorial on our football field dedicated to talking about how great of a guy he was and how he'll be dearly missed. He also got like 5 consecutive pages in our yearbook dedicated to him. But not long before his death, a less popular band student had committed suicide and his death didn't receive nearly as much coverage. He didn't get a giant memorial and he didn't get mentioned in our yearbook. One girl made this giant rant about this double standard on Facebook and it went viral around our campus. Our school was split. Some people praised her for pointing it out. Others were pissed and said that what she did was inappropriate. Even one of my English teachers defended the football player. She said that his death was a tragic accident, whereas the band student chose to die, and that there's a big difference. This girl went on to leave the school because she was getting death threats from friends of the football player, and our entire campus was completely divided over this whole incident. The summer after I graduated, the principal was caught propositioning underage teenage male prostitutes. At the end of my senior year, we had gum threats about 2-3 times a week. One of them was written in lipstick on the mirror of one of the girls' bathrooms. It said, "Gum minima." It was so ridiculous. Sheet like this had us standing out in a grass field for hours while the police checked the building. Edit. This was in Florida. We probably didn't go to the same school. I'd be surprised if anyone from that podunker school was on Reddit. My sophomore year of high school, the gym teacher's brother gets hired as the computer teacher. Nice guy. Was personable. Not as much as his brother, but still. 2/3 through the year he just vanishes and most of the teachers don't want to talk about it. Eventually it gets out that when he was in college, the computer teacher got into a barroom brawl. During the brawl he took a pool ball, put it inside of a sock, swung it and smashed a guy in the head with it. The guy who got it had permanent brain damage. The school found out midway through the year and that is why they let him go. There was a male head of year who was gay and had sexual relations with a guy who was a minor without knowing he was a minor. He left the school but I believe did not face any legal repercussions because it was clear that he had been deceived into thinking the individual was an adult could legally give consent. Happened to a friend of mine. Met at a party. He was 18, she claimed to be 17. They hooked up. A month later she thinks she's pregnant and her parents end up getting the story out of her. Turns out she was 14. Yeah. She ended up not being pregnant, thank God, but her parents filed charges against him. He was never convicted. BC there were enough witnesses that could back him up from the party, and I even think she eventually caved and went on record stating she had lied about her age. I had to give a statement. It all worked out in the end, but it was a scary few months there. Was during my sophomore year. A male super senior was having sex with a female freshman in the women's restroom. Someone burned down one of our buildings. Oh, I forgot all about the student crime. In middle school, a kid broke in one night to the building with the library. He piled up a bunch of books and set them on fire. Plus he stole some stuff. One of the things he stole was a t-shirt from a fundraiser display. He got busted because he wore the shirt, a shirt no one else would have. Not my school, but the small town high school where my kids now attend. Married female office admin sexes up a female student. Goes to jail for a few years. 10 years later, husbands of both women find out they have secret cell phones and have been carrying on a relationship off and on since the older one got out of prison. A bunch of seniors were having a graduation party in the woods. One of them passed out drunk. Rolled into a 6-inch deep culvert and drowned. They didn't notice he died until morning. Edit, from the comments. Ducking hell. Just how common is this sort of thing? A string of deaths 3 years in a row. Was finally broken when some guy jumped out a 2-story building but lived. Every year in my school one student would die. Freshman year. We had a guy commit suicide because of bullying. Sophomore year, a girl gets hit by a car. And junior year, a guy gets a heart attack at 17. Senior year was the only year I heard of with no deaths. 2 years ago, a senior brought in a sex doll for Secret Santa. He then brought it to the senior room and essentially had a fake gangbang with it with 20 other people. A girl got pregnant and told everyone the father was our English teacher. Turns out, now, no one even knows who the father is. Her included. Was she just ducking all of the boys in the school? Couple things happened at my school. One of the pay teachers basically sexually assaulted a lot of girls while teaching gymnastics. We also had like 10 people from the same grade picked up by police because they were selling Drugas in school, and I mean like a lot of Drugas. Teacher sucked a kid's big dick during my senior year. He showed a few people the video. Then he proceeded to move to California. She still works there to this day. We currently have a lawsuit against our district. The nurses are claiming harassment against an intermediate principal. And the district refused to step in. Apparently the nurses caught him having an affair and told his wife. He pinned one against a wall and demanded to see her phone. Not that juicy. But the basketball coach Gym 6 ED teacher was a teacher who clearly hated working with wee little sheets like us. So some of us did some investigating how he came to be our phys ed teacher. Turns out he had been a basketball coach for one of the top university teams in the country just 5 blocks away from our school. But he violated ethics codes by playing players who were academically unable to play and had evidence of him talking to professors about their grades. Got sacked, and our high school basketball scholarship private type jumped at the opportunity to pick up a coach banned from university leagues. Of course he'd have to run gym class and teach 13-year-olds about their changing bodies as well. Guy really lucked out. The biggest scandal there ever was in my school was on the news. Some student left a racist and homophobic note on a black gay teacher's desk. It basically said that he should be ashamed of being gay and that little black pussies shouldn't be allowed in a school. Really bad sheet. Reporters were all over the school. The teacher filed a report to the cops, but they were never able to catch the one who did it. My history teacher blackmailed the girls who weren't doing so good on his class. He exchanged good grades for nudes. Had a few. High school math teacher got a DUI on a tractor and was fired. PS teacher had an affair while both were married to other people. They eventually both divorced and ended up marrying each other. Accounting teacher married a student about a week after she graduated. Rumor was that they were already sleeping together when she was 16 and she was pregnant before graduation as well by the teacher. A couple gone threats. Teacher sent nudes to a kid because the kid pretended to be a different person on a dating website. Teacher left. Kid was expelled. When I was in primary school. 9 a kid from first grade caught my teacher and the principal doing it in his office. MRS. Crab appellant Principal Skinner were in the closet making babies. And I saw one of the babies. And then the baby looked at me. Team student in our engineering school was making high quality meth to pay for his schooling. Got caught his senior year right before graduation. You know he couldn't have done it himself. I feel like your science teacher, Mr. White, may have helped him. My high school did a block lunch where everyone ate lunch at the same time instead of separating them into A, capital B, C lunches. Because our cafeteria couldn't fit the entire student body. It was normal for kids to be eating in the hallway, on the floor, or at tables all throughout the school. One day during lunch, unbeknownst to the staff and student body, our AP decided to hold a lockdown drill. He got on the intercom and told everyone there was an active shooter in the cafeteria in order to see how kids would react had it been a real shooting. Turned into pure anarchy. Kids calling 911. Running out of school and not returning to class after the drill was over. Kids having anxiety attacks while hiding in classrooms. Dying calls from students to parents. It was pretty bad. Should I mention how this was several days after the Parkland shooting? Edit, grammar. There was a white kid who had a black baby mannequin to take care of for a week for some project to see if he would be a responsible parent. He hung the baby on a tree outside of the school. Expelled and made news on the local paper. Beside that, not much. Well, there are a bunch of kids who smoke and vape in the bathrooms. But last year the physics teacher had a huge thing for underage girls. Some students put pins into the sewing teacher's coffee. Luckily the teacher was okay, but it definitely could have been worse. So on the day ahead of a huge event that was going to happen in the auditorium of our school, someone pissed on the audio equipment in the auditorium of our school and it ended up not working anymore. The principal announced that anyone who was a witness and who could tell them who the culprit is would receive €500 from the school. Turns out it was someone from our neighboring class, and probably 8-10 guys from that class went into the principal's office to rat him out and receive the money. Just that the majority of them who went there were just claiming to have witnessed it to receive money as well. The guy got expelled from school and had to pay for new audio equipment, which was probably at least around 3,000 minus €4,000. Though I DK whether everyone who ratted him out ended up receiving the €500 or not. Not my current school. But a teacher was fired for cheating on his wife with ex-students. Was a shame because he just had a kid. My school recently had a TA leave and then a Snapchat of 2 6th form students in bed with him was leaked. I'm out of school now. But in high school it was discovered that a student had attempted to print the statistics exam to study before the test. This was found out in the morning when the teachers went into the math office. Put more paper in the printer and out came the exam that the stats teacher did not print. Now, cheating at my high school was punishable by expulsion, so the teachers all flipped out. This was fall exams, so we had a whole year of school assemblies where we all got talked to. I was a sophomore at the time and only seniors took stats. But they were basically trying to get anyone who knew something to talk. No one ever said a word. No one guy got in trouble. Nothing. We even talked about it after the seniors graduated and no one knew anything. So either someone is amazing at keeping secrets or the stats teacher printed it by accident and didn't realize and found in the morning because the printer ran out of paper. On the lighter side, the vice principal wrecked his car one night coming back from a school football game. Somehow he had managed to hit a dead cow on the side of the road. For the rest of the year he got subjected to random moves when he walked down the halls. Had a couple weird teachers lol. One came invisibly drunk every day. Was an alcoholic. Rumors say he smoked inside the classroom. My brother had him as his maths class's 5th grade year. Said it was terrible. 2. My arts teacher gave better grades if you'd show some cleavage. Rumors say he died of cancer couple years later. All alone with no wife and or children. 3. Guess I myself made it onto the list because my ex-BF didn't delete the nude he promised to delete and showed them to everyone whether they wanted to see them. I was called a sloot during all my remaining 4 or 5? Not quite sure, school years. Edit, to clarify. He took the picture while I was sleeping. I did not know it about until he broke off with me. Because he wanted to rub it in my face, I guess. A kid was trying to get initiated into the Bloods. Part of this is committing a serious act of violence, so he brought a Glock to school and tried to kill the school resource officer. Principal tackled him the second he saw him pull out the pistol. Everybody hated the principal until that day. We were on CNN that night. We had a lot of special needs kids in my school. Most didn't need special care, they were just thrown in normal classes. Which I don't think is fair to the kids who may have needed extra help to fit in. Anyways. Luckily. The kids in my school were really protective and kind to the SN kids. In my senior year. We voted for one to be the prom king and we all cheered and stuff. But anyways, there was a video going around of these 2 girls bullying one of the SN kids. And it ended up going semi-viral. The girls were receiving death threats and the next day at school over 200 students were waiting at the entrance to bully fight them. Everyone was super nice to the kid that got bullied and the girls had to get escorted by cops for their protection. TLDR, some girls were going to get beat up because they bullied a special needs kid. Had to be escorted by police for their safety. Someone nailed a photoshopped pic, almost real looking, of one of our teachers sucking a big dig along with a used condom onto the school notice board. She was pretty young compared to the rest of the teachers. And the moment she came to know about this, she started crying and went AWOL for almost 3 weeks. Then, one day she comes to our class, says goodbye to us and leaves the school permanently. She was one of the best teacher in school and literally every student had a crush on her. We felt pretty bad for what happened with her. It's a shame that whoever did that was never caught. A cop was having sex with the teenage high school girls. Someone spray painted on the side of the movie theater building. Then the cop was a cashier at 7/11 not long after. 2 kids basically blackmailed an English teacher to send them nudes. She said no multiple times that she wasn't, then told the principal she was sending nudes. Teacher got forced to resign. Everyone hated those kids. College in the Midwest a few years ago had a minority's car vandalized with a bunch of racial slurs. Find out later that he did it himself. A young lady who was my classmate dated this dude. She broke off with him and he proceeded to stalk her and then he stabbed her 50 times. I had the biggest crush on him. I guess thanks God he was in love with her. He pleaded insanity. Got off and went back and graduated.